Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. And first of all, of course, I want to thank for the invitation and also congratulate the co-chairs for drafting the discussion paper for transforming the education summit. I think that the three recommendations of the paper to us on public digital learning resources, on the potential of technology to accelerate and support learning, and the third one to ensure connectivity for all, they provide a good focused priority list for all of us. In this situation, of course, we also need to take into account everything that we learned and experienced during the pandemic. In many ways, it was a huge leapfrog in digital and blended learning, but I think that it also gave us some very important lessons about what worked and what did not work so well when we talk about digitalization and technology in education. For policymakers, it's our shared challenge to harness technology for ensuring inclusive, high-quality education. As was stated, sadly, the pandemic also made it very clear that we do have massive digital divides, not only between countries, but within societies and within all societies, also most developed nations, also in Finland, we noticed this. So addressing these divides, addressing this kind of these divisions must be our first priority when moving forward. At its best, digitalization can help us make education more accessible. It can help us kind of broaden the horizon of education, help us create new opportunities to diversify our learning environments. But we do need to pay constant attention to avoid creating new gaps, and instead all the time think about how we improve inclusion and equity when we talk about learning materials, devices, connectivity, but also support for our learners, which was the one thing that we learned in Finland during the pandemic that we really need to focus on. So therefore, as the discussion paper proposes, we must design our digital systems with the most marginalized and with in mind and putting learning first, remembering that technology must always be at the service of learning. So it can never replace our teachers, it cannot replace our schools, which we now have seen are so important not only for learning but also for the well-being of all children and students. Another point that I want to make is the role of teachers. Very central, their pedagogical expertise is the foundation for developing learning innovations, and they should also be given a voice in deciding what kind of tools they need and want for their job. In Finland, our education policy and model puts a lot of trust in teachers. They are highly educated, they are motivated professionals, so they also get a lot of autonomy and freedom in choosing their learning methods and their learning materials. And their capacity to create and innovate was very pivotal in limiting the impact of school closures in Finland. We've also found that various models for competence development that are based on peer support are very effective in strengthening teachers' digital competences. So teachers teaching teachers. Virtually all comprehensive schools in Finland have a tutor teacher tasked to support their colleagues in using technology in education in a pedagogically meaningful way. And it's of course also very important that we pay attention in teachers' continuous professional development throughout their careers to be able to support them in this. And we should also seek best practices globally when it comes to continuous professional development. Just a short example, I visited a Finnish school some weeks ago where a teacher told me how he uses the game Minecraft in various subjects that he teaches. And one that stuck with me was he said that he inspires boys 9 to 10 to read books because after they finish reading, they are tasked to create a scene, a scenery from the book through the game of Minecraft and then send it to their teacher afterwards. Just a very short example of teachers' creativity when it comes to games and digital learning environments. To end, dear friends, ensuring that our systems are inclusive, of course, it's important to understand that access is a multifaceted challenge. We also need to build global public goods, open educational resources. And I wish to underline the importance of UNESCO's global recommendation on open educational resources. It's visionary and more relevant than I think anybody was able to predict at the time of its adoption, which was shortly before the COVID outbreak. It was also an important inspiration for us in Finland when we established a national library of open educational resources. Highly useful during the pandemic and also helps teachers to freely share and adapt materials so they can both load their own materials and use materials from this resource. This discussion paper at hand recommends, and rightly so, establishing such public repositories. And in our view, they can be used not only for accumulating materials, but really become hubs for sharing innovative pedagogical practices and for supporting our teachers in the everyday work that they do with our children in schools. To end, Finland really looks forward to learning about best practices around the world. We stand ready to share ours in order to support UNESCO and the UN in promoting these efforts. Thank you.